Welcome to Without a Candle. We are your hosts,
Hey guys, I'm Carla.
and I'm Carly. Let's just jump on in, shall we?
Joe, introduce yourself. How you, well, before we even get into that, how did we find you? Or how did you find us?
I think that's the way it works.
Yeah, you found us?
Yeah,
You stumbled in.
I came here, and honestly, I'm trying to remember how I even heard of this place. Um, and I don't know. I
Okay.
honestly don't remember.
Were you looking for yoga at first? Was that?
No.
Okay. Gotcha. So when I first met you, it was because you were coming in for those yoga classes, and I only knew you coming in for yoga.
Mm.
So I always thought that you just knew Teresa already, and you were just coming in because of her classes. And Carla was like, "No, you came in here before the classes." And I'm like, "What?" Okay.
I just forget to mention things
Yeah.
sometimes, and sometimes you gotta sort what's important in those moments,
Yeah.
for that. It was what brought me in initially was just a metaphysical shop nearby that I wanted to explore. And so I had heard about it from time to time and then never just made my way over here.
Yeah. So
And
you made it.
I'd been in here a few times, and then I had a client who somehow knew Teresa,
Okay.
and she said that she was doing yoga classes. And when I was in here looking for other things,
Gotcha.
I inquired about that. So that's how I got in.
Good. I'm glad that you were able to put some pieces together. I know we had more conversation that first go around, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was just wandering here,
Yeah.
find different things, and then yeah.
Because you had been in Savannah for a hot minute, right?
Yeah, I've been here since 2020.
Okay. Okay. Oh man, that's
Yeah,
bad.
it's crazy to that. It's crazy to think that that's the case. But
Some people are still finding us, right? No. Yeah. So welcome.
thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the space. Welcome to the group because you're one of the practitioners here. And we're excited about that. So, do you have anything you want to add?
I think it's just really important that you take time to share your background, right? Okay. Because I really appreciated the knowledge and the wisdom and the training that you had previously coming in and then coming into a space that's kind of alternative path. Yeah. So personally or professionally? Or
Whatever you want to do. Yeah, go for it.
So I'll start, I guess, with my spiritual journey a little bit because that's the foundation, I think, of everything that I do. And so I came here, meaning Kentucky, in 2020 because I was going through a divorce.
Okay.
In addition, I was really struggling physically.
Okay.
My body had completely shut down on me. I've worked in the strength and conditioning industry for years. When I was in Colorado, which is where I lived before I came here, I was a strength and conditioning coach for a youth soccer club. And sports were the only thing I ever knew or cared about my entire life.
Okay.
By the time I was 5 or 6 until essentially till I came here, honestly. I had nothing to speak to anyone about if it didn't relate to sports. That's how much it controlled my life. Yeah.
Very focus driven on career path. And I get that. Some days I have to remind myself, So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And so I think the way that I learned to survive in that environment it's obviously very achievement based, right? And so you have to have success if you want to climb the ladder. And that's what I was experiencing with coaching. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was also going through graduate school at the time.
Wow.
I was in an exercise science program. And I guess long story short, I was recognizing how my body never had the opportunity to rest and recover. I was always stuck in fight or flight sympathetic mode. And my body was breaking down. I was always sore. I was never sleeping. I had a lot of aches and pains. I had back surgery before my 30th birthday. And emotionally, I was a complete wreck. And so I guess you could say, people talk about midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And that fits pretty well, I guess, considering when I came here, I knew that I was never again going to be involved with the sports world, and I was leaving a relationship of 10 years. And so I was literally stripping everything that I knew out of my life. And I was trying to replace it with things that supported my healing journey. Um, and so I was very into meditation, and I started learning about energy work. And that was kind of the foundation of how I started to change the way that I thought, process things, and my relationship with my body.
Yeah. I want to take a second because, when you're sharing your body, right? How you're always sore, you're never resting, you're stuck in fight or flight. I mean, how many other people does that fit? And so I think that there's a real importance and real respect for someone else like us, because we share a real journey too. Being able to share that shit happens and that
It's so
unfortunately it's the
normal.
norm.
It's
Yeah.
so normal that people don't realize how normal it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently was reading a book that referenced a psychologist who says that 7 out of 10 people are stuck in chronic state of stress in their lives, and they just learn how to push through it
Yep.
and to ignore the signals that the body is giving them. And I understand that because I lived it for literally my entire life. Minus maybe the last 5 years, I've been learning how to step away from that.
It's so interesting at how parallel our journeys are, but so different at the same time, because I feel so called out every time I hear you talk about this stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly not my intention.
No, I know, but it's good because I feel
that.
reflection,
Yeah.
and I started my healing journey about the same time you did. So we've been on that 5-year journey together for a while now. So yeah,
It's tricky with the verbiage sometimes because how I see things and how I feel things versus how things come out is a little tricky. But a lot of what you described on how we're taught to like ignore it, push through it, just keep going, do the things. I'm like, part of me wants to blame that on society, right? And the expectation to be okay and to be not be vulnerable and then just, pull it back up, get it together, do the things. And then part of me, I think we did that to ourselves as well. So not just society as a whole, but continuously living up to those expectations. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And not creating those boundaries. But then we don't know.
yeah,
Like, do you know how to create those boundaries? Do people know how to say no? And that's big.
yeah.
So
I think it's very much a cultural thing, you know. So I'm sure we'll talk about one of my big topics that I discuss is perfectionism. Right? That's a topic that I came across in graduate school, and before I researched it in depth, I would have thought that striving for perfection was a noble cause.
yeah,
It's a hallmark of high achievers in almost any single avenue that you look, and particularly in sports.
yeah.
It's always about striving for perfection. And so I kind of joke that it's the American way.
Yeah.
And honestly, it really is. It's about pushing to the next achievement, ignoring what are the signals that our bodies are telling us. And once we finally achieve what we get, then we just set the bar high. And so there's never a state of satisfaction. There's never any sort of enjoyment or gratification. It's just always this constant shift of what do I want and how do I get there at any cost.
Yeah.
Jeez. You're on it today. I'm like, okay.
So where did that lead you?
It's a lesson. Right?
It's such a lesson.
Yeah. Man. Okay.
I think another aspect that I hadn't considered till about a year ago was the grieving process of having to grieve as you're coming out of that perfectionism, at least in my experience, because you have to let a lot of things go. A lot of people leave out of your life. Expectation of like what you put on yourself and the goals that you had,
Those ideas.
decided that's no longer serving me, grieving the change in path.
Yep.
That's been something really hard for me in my journey, at least with getting out of that perfectionism mode.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense because at its core, we think about uh, why why do we have this need to be perfect? What is the underlying cause of that? And typically, it's because we're trying to fill something within ourselves that that striving for something is going to fill. And so, if we're trying to fill something inside ourselves that is missing, that means that when we look at our relationships, the nature of the relationship is based on us being a certain thing for this person, thinking that that's why they love us. And so uh, when our relationships are based on that, and we start to change, then the dynamic of the relationship completely shifts.
And that's relationships on all levels.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
So Carly and I have a relationship. Javisa, we all have a relationship with Javisa. So that's relationships on all levels. So
It shows up. Yes.
Yeah.
It shows up with our coworkers. It shows up with our parents. It shows up with our kids. It shows up with our friends. It's everything.
Yeah. Ourselves, our hobbies, like not even just people. But
And internally, it's of course like
Yeah.
internally first, and then it's projected.
but that's
Yeah.
not something that's a normal everyday topic. Like we just don't talk about those things.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes if even today, like was there a need before today, was there a need to have that conversation? Or did we realize that there was a need for that conversation? So like the more you understand and the more you know, because I thought you put that very well, right?
Yeah.
So before today, I'm not sure I would have thought about it that way. So that's why these conversations are so important and so enlightening.
Yeah. I really appreciate
I think what I've recognized, having studied it and it being such a big part of my life for the past, 10 years in terms of researching perfectionism, is that almost everyone resonates with the topic on some level, but they don't necessarily understand the depth of how it's controlling so much in our lives. All of our thought processes, all of our relationships, how it shows up in our body, which it absolutely does. And so I think that with most things, and it's not a topic that is easy to address because it requires change.
Oh yeah.
And that's difficult.
And it requires accountability
Absolutely.
for you to really look at yourself and accept the change, accept that you do have a problem or a challenge, and um verbiage here. You're not
And then making that commitment not to go back to that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, for sure. People not really getting it at first.
So what was your biggest aha moment? Or like when did that really hit home for you?
I think it was, it's kind of been like peeling off layers,
Okay.
honestly. But the first aha moment was when I started diving into the research in the same way. And when I recognized that, striving perfection isn't just like this great endeavor to get us to achieve great things. There's all these other things that come along with it. Anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, how it lives in the body, damaged relationships, and the list goes on and on and on. And so I started to recognize all those things in me.
Yeah.
Like, this at least contributes to why I am the way that I am, why I push so hard, and why every sort of achievement is like life or death for me. And so that was the first one. And then probably when I was going through my divorce and I stepped away from the sports world and I was just looking at my life and how everything had transpired. And I was just recognizing that if I want to live a life that isn't filled with anxiety and frustration and pain, I need to make changes.
Do you remember?
Forefront.
Do you remember that moment where you took that first really big deep breath after the dust settled, making that conscious decision, like I can control it. That was a bad use of words, but I do have some power over this situation to change that.
I think that has also been an unraveling, but
Okay.
I would say that the biggest change has been since I've started my own business.
Okay.
And then it became this process of, because I'd always existed in two different places.
Okay.
One, I would strive to get whatever I wanted,
Okay.
and nothing would stop me. And so I would think about it night and day, and I would do whatever it took to accomplish that goal. And generally speaking, I was relatively successful in that.
Yeah.
In terms of accomplishing things. Now, in terms of the emotional and mental state and how my body was reacting to it all, that was a complete mess. But I wasn't listening to any of that. And if when I would get so burned out that I couldn't do that anymore, I would dissociate.
Okay.
And so then I wasn't striving for things, and I wasn't like super stressed out and anxious all the time, but I was also just stuck in this like going nowhere.
Like nonchalant kind of.
Yeah.
So okay, that's good awareness. And like I'm taking notes over here. Because I didn't think that there was two sides to the coin, you know? Okay. So that's different as well.
Yeah, I would say that I would imagine those are probably the two biggest ways it would show up.
Okay.
Would be just going after it and you just deal with the consequences, or you just have to check out so that
Yeah.
you can give your body a rest.
Okay.
And it wasn't until towards the beginning of this year that I started my own business. And so it was the first time where I had to really look in the mirror and say, okay, I have something that I'm incredibly passionate about. How do I do this without the attachment of what's going to happen, without constantly being stressed out about it all the time, without having to appear like a certain thing for certain people so that they recognize themselves in me and trust me enough to work with them. And,
You feel cool now.
and so,
It's conversation.
and so,
I'm kidding.
yeah, and so it's how do I do that without putting the weight of the world on my shoulders, which is something that I've never been able to do. And it's, if I'm being completely honest,
I'm not sure I can handle it.
it's been an intense roller coaster ride, full of ups and lots of downs and lots of
Jolts and
lots of repatterning my nervous system, because the only way I can talk educatedly about perfectionism, but the only way to make change is to live what I'm speaking about and to allow my nervous system to recognize, okay, there's a different way. It doesn't need to hold on all the time. It can let go. So that's been the journey.
So now I'm just curious, right? How do you find that balance? So how is there stop looking at me like that. The control freak based on the business aspect, like you totally get that, right? And then the control freak side, and then sorry for those words if those don't sit well. And then the other end of the spectrum where it's like, whatever, do what you want to. You know what I mean? So where's that balance for you, and what helps you find that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And for me, this is what my business is.
Yeah.
Is teaching people about this, how to find this balance.
Okay.
And the way that I've done it personally and that I share with my clients is finding ways to learn how to developing an intimate relationship with our body and what it's telling us.
Okay.
And so, so the perfectionistic loop, right, is the rumination. We're looking into the past and we're wondering, why did things have to happen this way? Why am I dealing with this? Like, why didn't I say something different? Why didn't it happen a different way? And so you're living in the past and you're creating all this turmoil inside emotionally, and
Yeah.
nothing that we can control, right? And then the other side of the perspective is we're looking into the future. How am I going to accomplish this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get the money for this? Like all these things again that we can't fix unless we come into our body in the moment. And so it's a somatic approach to ensuring that we're like I said, developing this intimate relationship with our body. And for me, intentional movement is one of the core things. So that's why I do stretch therapy. We're moving the body, so we're moving stuck energy. We're teaching it to relax, removing the tension, and then our body needs to feel safe. And the way that it does that is to ensure that the muscles are working properly through that movement.
Gotcha.
And then what are other, well-known practices that we do that bring us into their body? Exploring the breath and mindfulness. And so it's a package of those things, typically.
So, I want to share because I didn't want to come across insensitive or whatever, but that giggle there was just, a release of energy, a realization of like, man, like, yes, okay. So there's like a whole, okay.
Do you need to meditate today?
Again, yeah, probably. But that explains so much, right? For both of us sitting here.
Yeah.
So currently, you're like tapping in to the essence of some of our being right now, 2 for 2. So there's a good chance there's not anyone out there that you didn't just
resonate with.
Yeah.
For sure.
Man,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's so, and see, that's why these are also important because that is so much deeper than what I could explain to someone, what Carly could explain to someone. Because here today, as your audience, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sorry, I really appreciate that.
We do know now.
Yeah.
Didn't quite understand before.
Yeah.
Like we knew the surface level. Like we can explain to people like, hey, it's stretch therapy, it's helping get energy out of your body, the tension, all the things. It goes around perfectionism, right? That's the best way I knew how to explain it. And now I'm like,
we just need a voice recording. Yeah. I know, right? To play on demand. Yeah, be like, hold on, like in here, right?
Yeah.
So that's already a lot, and that already sits a lot differently. And I really appreciate that.
So,
but it's
go ahead.
Oh, I'm like, but that's just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because then you share a little bit about your personal background and your professional background, but there's even more to it than that, right? So when you came here, you worked as a physical therapist, right? And there's some energy work background. And then the other question maybe helps tie all this together. When did you notice that there was a connection between someone's body and someone's energy?
So first I'll say, so I worked in a physical therapy clinic. I've worked in 2 different physical therapy clinics, but I'm not a physical
therapist. I apologize for
that. No. So my background is strength conditioning. I'm CSCS certified, with certified strength conditioning specialist, which is in the industry, it's considered the gold standard for personal trainers. So if I wanted to work in professional sports or in collegiate sports, this is the certification that would be required, and the only one that would be acceptable in those realms, and one of the only ones that requires a degree in order to obtain. Most people, you can just go and study and get a personal training certification, which is fine.
Yeah.
But so that's my background. And I worked as a fitness trainer. Which was great and helpful that it broadened my base of understanding as it relates to how the body operates, because I was on one side of the spectrum as performance. You're trying to get athletes faster, stronger, ability to move properly. And then on the other side of the spectrum, it's okay, how do we heal this injury? How do we get the body to do what it needs to do? And so it filled in a big gap in terms of that. I think that the recognition that what specifically did you ask again? That
So when did you correlate the physical body
with the emotional
with the
body?
emotional? Yeah.
That was personally first.
Okay.
Yeah. So yoga, massage therapy. These are things that anyone who's exposed to these will likely either experience themselves some sort of emotional release through movement, or someone's, giving them body work, and then all of a sudden they have a flood of emotion releases, or they're in yoga class and they do a twist and then there's an emotional release. And I had a similar experience while I was about the same time period that I was referencing, about 2018, 19, when I was going through my divorce before I came here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was doing a yoga class that was designed to open the heart chakra. And
those are bittersweet, yeah.
And yeah, it was amazing. I was doing a twisting movement, and I could feel the flood of energy tangibly in my body, and then just floods of tears after that.
Okay.
And it was the first time that I had really allowed myself to mourn the ending of my relationship.
Yeah.
And so it was like what? Like, just happened.
You're a little shocked there.
Yeah. And that was before I was exposed to Reiki and energy work. And then I was exposed to it not long after that. When I came out here, I had a sibling who was a Reiki practitioner. My stepmom was a Reiki master. And so then I started to learn that way. And then, I've always kind of been a spiritual insight junkie.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it all just kind of blends together, and weaves, says the same thing in different ways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was able to recognize the connections between what I learned in my education, and then what I was experiencing personally, and what I was reading.
Do you remember the first time you helped a client process emotion? What that was like for you? We can always come back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a first time. The first time I would say that I recognized that there was something going on that was bigger than just stretching someone to gain mobility was when one of the first times I was doing a Reiki session. I wasn't even doing the stretching yet. It was a Reiki session that I was doing with my sister-in-law. And we had some music playing in the background. And so when I was going through, usually when I do energy work, and stretch therapy for me is energy work.
Right.
If I get a message, it's usually like I'll get a thought. That's how it comes to me. Is I'll get a thought, and then I'll typically share it with my client. It's
like a clairvoyance kind of thing. So that's another different like nugget in the bucket, or
yeah. And so I was working with my sister-in-law, and I don't know if it was a specific message, but her grandfather, who I had never met and only heard her talk about maybe a couple of times, but they were really close, came into my mind, like very clearly.
Yeah.
That it felt like I needed to let her know that.
Okay.
And so we finished the Reiki session, and afterwards, I basically just kind of told her what I felt and brought that up. And said that when I was working on her crown chakra, that her grandfather's energy came to me, and I was still like, I didn't want, like, I felt like I was crazy.
Did it?
Yeah.
I felt like I was crazy to bring it up, but I was like, I'm just going to say it. And she just kind of was like, oh, okay. And she told me afterwards that she went straight downstairs and started bawling, crying.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that while we were doing the Reiki session, that there was a song that sounded like a music box
Mm-hmm.
that I believe her grandfather had given to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was some sort of resonance there. And it certainly feels like his presence was there with us.
Absolutely. And so, like, for what I chose right now, which is usually, awareness and confirmation. But that's one of the situations, like, you can't make that shit up. Like, even if we tried, you couldn't make that shit up, right? And so learning to own those every time it happens.
Definitely makes
practice.
practice a lot easier. Yeah, for sure.
I still have those moments. I'm like, I'm human, so I might be wrong. But usually it has nothing to do with my human self at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to hear a little bit more about your spiritual practice outside of work that kind of helps you stay grounded and out of that perfectionism state. Yeah, I want to
because Carly, I'm curious. You're like, what am I going to do today?
what can I implement? No, but like I really do think that that's important to share as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. And it's hard to separate my work stuff from my own healing journey stuff because it all just meshes together at this point. But personally, my mornings and my evenings are hugely important to me because I've lived my life, not anymore, but the majority of my life, I was a really bad insomniac. My mind was racing all the time, so I would just lay down and just my mind would race about all my problems. And then because I had back surgery years ago and I didn't care for my body the way that I needed to, I was always in constant pain. So sleep was never a thing that I enjoyed, unfortunately. So years of trial and error have brought me to a place where I sleep really well. But there are certain things that my body needs in order for that to happen, and I have to be very strict about it. And so, in terms of before I go to bed, I have to take it about an hour, preferably at least a half an hour, just to decompress. And so I stretch and I do yoga type stuff, and I'll do light heart coherence breathing, and meditation, those sorts of things. Just getting all my muscles to relax and my mind to settle before bed. And when I wake up, it's kind of the opposite. It's helpful for me when I can ease my way into my day. I'm lucky that the life that I've created for myself, I'm able to structure it the way that I want to. So typically I'm able to do that fairly well. And I wake up and I immediately, same thing, I start to focus on my breath and I meditate quite a bit and I implement some sort of movement practice. For me, my personal movement practice is stretch and activation based, qigong type movements, yoga type stuff.
Yeah.
Things that are very low impact, flowing type movements. Because I still am dealing with a lot of the residual body stuff of living in stuck nervous system for the majority of my life.
Yeah. I can imagine. Because I live so yeah, I can live. But when you were talking about like decompressing and like getting in that meditative state at night, like before you go to bed, that hit. I'm like, well, I should probably be doing that for my kid too. Like, oh, that should be like implemented now. He's 2.
That's I've been pretty good about through my life. Movement has always been very natural for me. So I'm lucky in a sense that it's never been like, oh, I have to work out or I have to do yoga or I have to do this. It's something that I've always enjoyed. So waking up and getting straight to that sort of routine for me lights me up. and gets me ready for the day. It's not like, there's none of that. However, at night, it's much more difficult
Okay.
because I've had a long day. Like everyone, I'm tired. I'm like, there's things that I'm just like stressed out about. My body, my back hurts. Like
Yeah.
it's like all of it, And I just want to like go to my bed and curl up and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But so it's really been that's been something that I've needed to be very intentional about implementing. And uh, like most behaviors that don't come natural to me, there's been a lot of like internal kicking and screaming
Okay.
that go along with it. And I'm finally like, okay, I'll listen to my body.
Yeah.
And then I recognize the benefit of it.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, okay, let's keep this up type situation.
Once you get past that threshold of
Right. Because when you sleep, when you have trouble sleeping for months at a time, and then you say, well, I'm going to try this practice, and then you start sleeping really well, then you start to see you're like, okay, this is worth this is worth it.
And you can use that in like all aspects of life. So, that description very much so fits my relationship with food currently. Like you pay attention, you do the things, you know what feels good, you know what your body doesn't like, and then you just gotta keep, Yeah.
my
the same.
Yeah, my whole journey with healing and perfectionism is now leading me into a health journey as well. And the food situation, like today, I wanted when we asked the boys to bring us lunch, I wanted to be like, I want chicken tenders from Dairy Queen. But I was like, no, let's get a salad, let's get some high protein. So I had to get us chicken. So yeah. It's tough. It's tough getting out of those mindsets when they've been so ingrained in you for so long.
Yeah, and it's when we think about the topic of food, it's not just like mindset. Our body, it's literally our nervous system is craving something very specific to create this dopamine hit that we're used to. So we're using food as this emotional regulator, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just, oh, like this tastes good and this tastes bad. It's very emotional as well.
Yeah.
And so when we try to change that, like everything, our body screams for normal, whether that's good for our body or bad for our body. It doesn't like change whatsoever. And so when we talk about diet, there's a lot of different levels that we're fighting against to try to change that. And I've certainly struggled there as well.
Yeah. I love that explanation because it takes it deeper than just eat healthy, do better, make better choices. It's a whole recognition of what is actually going on in your body and being able to like understand that to baby step into like gradual, slow changes that help rewire that nervous system. Like I just started adding small supplements here and there, and I can tell a huge difference if I miss one day if I don't take those supplements in my body.
It's still like it took me a second to grab. It took me a minute to wrap my head around that, and obviously to form words. So it's not just to rehash. It's not just that I chose something that my body didn't like that one day. That I changed. Like I think I understand it better than I'm rehashing it, but it's not just that I had pizza yesterday. It's that I changed from the routine of not having carbs, of not having dairy. And that also created an effect. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah. So
sort of.
Yeah, when people talk about emotional eating, like why are we craving the foods that we crave when we crave them?
Yeah.
And it's because our nervous system is looking for some sort of regulation. So why do we crave sweets at night? It's like we're used to, it's literally providing this dopamine rush, like this sense of pleasure, like, oh, now I can relax. And so the nervous system relaxes. Or in the afternoon when we're stressed out, it's like You just want something delicious, and it's the same thing. It's creating this chemistry in our body that lets us know that we don't have to be stressed anymore, that we can enjoy this flood of emotion that we're getting from the food, and then that becomes the support system.
There was a book I read a long time ago. It was called The Slow Down Diet. So it had very little to do, like a long time ago. You should probably revisit that. It had very little to do with what you were eating. And so it wasn't about treating food as if it was healthy or not healthy. It was about your relationship with the food.
Mhm.
So even today, if I chose to eat the cake, enjoy the cake instead of feeling guilty about the cake, because the emotion and the mood around it, the thoughts around it, changes the metabolism of it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's it's but it takes a conversation like this to be reminded of those things,
Mhm.
right? So yeah,
Man,
I know.
it's crazy. I mean, it's not really crazy to me anymore, but to think about how much of your journey before your healing journey
Mhm.
has affected so much of your life that you always thought was just normal,
Yeah.
right? Like you grew up a certain way, and who said we had a say in any of that? Because we come into this life little, we know nothing, we're taught everything, we are pushed with our parents' ideology, our environment's ideology, and that's how we get stuck in these until we get to a point in our lives where we can have these aha moments and be like, that's actually not normal, and pull ourselves out of it, or like try to work to pull ourselves out of it, right? So it's quite interesting that we're all like midlife, getting into midlife, and we're just now
So
feeling
I'm
like
past that. I'm not doing that.
no, no. But we're having all these aha moments of figuring out who we are when we're taught we had to know who we were coming out of high school and coming out of adolescence. Like we should have already known who we were and how we want to be and what we do with our lives. And
I still have none of that figured out.
no, I mean
So-
we don't either. But like at least we're slowly getting to a point where we can make those conscious choices without the influence. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So no, I feel like you just had the moment like I had a few minutes ago. Like you understood and you felt it differently as
Yeah.
it came out,
Yeah.
right? Like it happens a lot as we reflect on things.
Yeah.
So, but I get it. I do. So what are some things that you sit with that you wish people knew, or you wish, like, is there a question or a topic that you wish people ask you about more?
That's a good question.
I mean, because I remember I asked Sarah that question,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I wish people would ask me about this." I was like,
Yeah.
"Good." So now I always reflect on that question because we don't know what we don't know either, right? And so, sometimes there's often stuff that I sit with quietly, and I'm like, I kind of want to share this. Like, I kind of want to talk about this, but no one's asked, right? And I know through taking human design classes that my human design, I don't remember what it is, but I like to be invited. Like, I like to be asked for these questions, or I like to be asked my opinion, right? And so, I don't know. I just wonder, like, is there something that each of us are sitting with that we would like to share and to get out? And, maybe it's even the next business thing, right? Or something that's just kind of heavy that could help, or it could be light that would help the general population.
Yeah, that is a good question. I appreciate that. And for me, it's definitely my pursuit of understanding the mind-body connection, and specifically how stress shows up in the body. So when we're stressed out, we get tense, and that tension creates chronic bracing patterns in our body. And that chronic bracing pattern is what affects poor posture, muscle as everyone sits up nice and straight. Floor posture,
Yeah.
dysfunction in the body, which creates these chronic aches and pains that we constantly deal with.
Okay.
And aside from that, and really the study of perfectionism is just another layer on top, just a very specific way of, because if you're following this chain of things down, perfectionism, and then chronic stress, and then how chronic stress affects the body, and then the bracing patterns, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And so it's the same. You can just get rid of the perfectionist. Someone says, well, I don't resonate with perfectionism. Well, that's fine. Well, do you resonate with stress? And I've never met someone's like, oh no, it's really, I know one person in my life that says that they're stress free, and I'm happy for them. Good for
Yeah.
them. But for the rest of us, we deal with stress, and there are ways that we can use a bottom up approach as opposed to using the mind to fix our body, using the body to fix what's going on in terms of our stress response.
Mhm.
And I am very passionate about that, and that's why I'm doing workshops.
I can see that shift. Like I can see, you know, the glimmer, right, or the
Yeah.
glimpse in the eye, and like, okay, this is my passion. That energy shift was real just then, as you share. Yeah. So is it tricky for you to be around and to not notice how people are dealing with themselves?
Yes,
Okay.
it's pretty much impossible, and I've always actually been that way. I'm a very empathic person, and I feel incredibly deeply, and so that's always just been in my nature.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember, I think I was, I mean, I was not, I was still trying to figure out my life. I was out of high school, but I was kind of drifting, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I actually had just finished, this is one other topic, but I had just finished a Mormon mission.
Okay.
And I came back and I was visiting with my family who aren't Mormon.
Uh-huh.
And my stepmom was asking me, but anyway, it was the first time I ever did anything in my life aside from sports where it was very productive and healing for me.
Uh-huh.
And learned like, oh, I'm actually like, if I put my mind to something, I'm actually pretty smart and I can connect with people pretty well. Like it was, I had a good sense of efficacy as it related to sports, but everything else, I was very unsure of myself at the time.
Okay.
And so my mission was, it was something different, and it gave me a lot of confidence. And so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and my stepmom recommended, well, you should maybe like become a psychologist, or just like kind of my personality fit well for me. And I kind of chuckled and said, there's no way that I could educate myself as a psychologist. Then I would just feel like I'm psychoanalyzing every person that comes in front of me for the rest of my life. And I can't deal with that. And I still feel that way in a sense, because that's so bringing that into the now, it is very hard for me to detach from the struggles that people are experiencing, letting them experience the journey in a way that feels good for them in
Yeah.
that moment. But from the outside, recognizing that the way that they're processing information is not in their best interest.
Okay. So what I heard from that, I heard it all, but what I got from that is earlier when you're like, hey, how's it going? You're like, and I said, oh, okay. You probably knew that there was more truth or there was more to the story, right? As you're passing by and there's posters or that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you ask if you're okay, he knows. He knows if you're not, right? But so what's one of the hardest things to witness in that work? And I ask that because we deal with those kind of things too. Like you can tell that someone is going through something, uh, but they're not quite ready to go through it yet. Like they're not quite ready for the process yet. So what are some things that you notice when that happens?
The absolute hardest thing for me is to have a client who resonates with my message but is struggling to make the changes that they need to embody the things that we talk about.
Yeah.
That's extremely hard for me. It's first and foremost hard because I care about them and I want them to, and I understand what they're going through on a very deep level because I've lived it and continue to live it to various degrees.
Yeah.
Um, but I just have to use it as a learning experience to teach myself that I can't control what other people choose to do in their lives, and I can't. So my reaction, my perfectionistic reaction, would be to beat myself up and to feel like I'm unworthy and to feel like it was my fault that they weren't changing. And so that's my journey that I need to work through and just do the best I can to help provide tools for people without being attached to the outcome, which is a very difficult thing to do for someone who attached all of their self-worth to achievement for the majority of their lives. But all that said, the most difficult part is feeling like I have this recipe to really help people and wishing that they were able to embody it in a way that they saw significant changes so that they could continue down that.
Yeah.
That's very hard.
It's extreme. And I guess I didn't look at it from other practitioners' point of view, right? Like I didn't look at it from your point of view, your practice, and like when we have readers come in, like I'm sure that they go through the same thing. They can see the things that we need to do or that we can choose to do, and then to look at someone and be like, "You're just choosing not to do the thing, right? You're choosing not to step up to the plate." Um, and I used to think this way: I can fix you, or I can help you fix yourself, but you don't let me, or you don't want me to. You don't want me, And so it's so tricky. It's so okay.
That's something that you and I have been talking about the last couple of months about the soul's journey. And if it's not their time, it's not their time. And I literally just said that about somebody that is extremely close to me yesterday. It's like I need to stop trying to fix this person through fixing myself and wishing that like I can see that potential and know that I'm capable of doing it. And this person is older than I am. Person should be able to, and they're not connecting the dots. But then we're going back to that ideology of if they're on a soul journey and they're not meant to be, then that's not something that I need to try to push or try to wish for somebody they don't think they have and if they need to change.
Yeah. I think anyone who's on any sort of a spiritual journey can resonate and recognize that pattern because when we embrace the spiritual journey, it requires change. Right? We talked about that. And so that change, we recognize, oh, we changed these things about ourselves and now I'm in a much better state. And then so we start looking at everything around us and then we recognize that, oh, these people aren't doing the same sort of thing. And we can see the pain that they're experiencing. And we want nothing more for them to be relieved of that suffering in the same way that we've been able to do that for ourselves. And so it's the same process that I deal with with my clients.
Oh yeah. So being transparent about, doing something things and implementing some new processes is that it may not be physically hard, right? It may not be physically hard, but wrapping your head around, I'm about to go through this, right? And that some things get harder before they get easier. Often that has me to get my heels in to like change, right? It's like, do I want to go through that muddy part to get to the green pastures, right? Do I want to go through that level, that first little bit of uncomfortableness, right? Whether it's, going to a new massage therapist or, signing up to meet a new therapist or any of that stuff. Like there's a level of uncomfortableness there first, and then you can sink in and start to heal. But man, that's honestly what keeps me from a lot of practices, right? So with another practitioner, I jumped in right away to cranial sacral because I knew what that was. But I'm like, I don't want to do the breath work yet. You know what I mean? So, and then Carly jumped straight into breath work. She was like, yeah, I'll do that. But had you known, do you think you would have done it that first time? Man,
Because I had such a different thought process of what breathwork actually was
Okay.
until I experienced what breathwork actually was.
in that sense.
And
Breath work can be very shallow.
yeah, and that experience is kind of similar with that chakra yoga class that you took. Coming out of that kind of shock of like, what just happened type sense. Yeah, it took me quite a few days after that to process everything. But man, yeah, that was crazy.
So that goes back to another conversation I had earlier today. Like at some point, you just got to commit to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And choosing your heart, right? Because the heart of starting something new and digesting and figuring that out, is it any worse or any better than the heart of staying where you are? Like both are going to suck for a second. So choose your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my message today.
Yeah. It reminds me, when you're on social media and people post about inspiring quotes and different things. And one of the ones that I've seen as it relates to writing specifically is people, the advice of, whatever you're scared to share, share that. That's where you start. And it's because the resistance is telling you something. And it's the same thing that it's telling us the same thing as very similar to when we talk about changing diet or anything. It's like we know that there's something that needs to be experienced, but the body doesn't feel that it's safe. It wants the known, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's very much I've known this philosophically, but now I'm living with my business.
Yeah.
And there are the dark moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, honestly, like I had this job, this super cozy job where I made plenty of money. I had thousands of dollars in the bank. I could do and go whatever I wanted to do, super easy. And now I'm like drained my savings. I'm stressed out all the time. The to-do list grows faster than I can experience.
Because
It's
you're
like,
not just running a business, you're marketing, you're a photographer, you're a CPA, you're all of the things, the laundry list.
and then as it relates to my business, it's also overcoming these tendencies through my work, these perfectionist tendencies. And so I'm teaching people about perfectionism in their lives and how it controls their behavior, while perfectionism is like gripping like hell to hold on to my past behavior patterns. And so I'm like starting my own business while I'm rewiring my nervous system all at the same time.
That was the what the hell moment right there. Yeah.
Incredibly, I'm just like, oh, there are lots of moments where it feels like it's too much, but that's the exact place that I feel like we need to be. That's where we need to place ourselves and just put one foot in front of the other so that we can trust that there's something bigger going on.
So I appreciate that too. Carly comes from a background of banking. My last job was in military sales. So we also left, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's where some perfectionism came from. But we both left that and we're choosing to do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we have those thoughts sometimes, like, what the fuck are we doing? But then we cross paths with someone like yourself, or a client that came in yesterday and she shared that she had been through recovery so many more times in the past. And the difference about this time is that she found us, right?
Mm.
So that's why we're here, you know? So
for sure.
yeah. So I mean, like that's the shape or the snap back into this life's purpose, you know, this life's purpose.
I grew up with my father running his own business. And so my parents were divorced. I would see my dad on the weekends and more in the summertime. But while he was starting his business, that meant when I went to see him, I was working as well. And so I saw how much it took a toll on him. He was working 7 days a week, almost all the time. Every once in a while, we go do something, but it was always on his mind, always something to do, always struggling with employees. And I was just like, I'm not going to ever do that. That sounds like it's the worst thing ever. And when I told my dad I was doing this, he told me, "What, you're the bookkeeper, you're the this, you're the that." And it's like, yeah, thank you. I get it. I know, but
Forever,
right.
you know, for now. Um, the village.
Yeah. We love the barter system.
Yeah.
We do
So
barter.
anything we could help you with, let us know.
Yeah.
But for the greater good. Like that's why we do this. You know,
for sure.
if we can, I don't like the way that's that, but someone saying like, if we can save the next person just a little bit of grief, you know, we can make the next person's life just a little bit better, a little bit longer, a little less painful, you know, a little more understanding.
So,
Man.
as we wrap up,
I have another question. Oh,
okay, go.
okay. So hypothetically, if someone comes in and meets you today, Joe, how do they get started?
It really depend on the person and what they're dealing with. And so the idea is that what I touched on earlier is that whatever is going on emotionally and cognitively is showing up in our body. And so if a person is dealt with chronic state of fight or flight and they're just always stressed out all the time and they are dealing with like autoimmune type symptoms, chronic fatigue, their muscles and joints hurt all the time, they have belly issues, migraine headaches, like these sorts of things, and they're so pronounced that it's affecting quality of life, then in that situation, I would lean them more towards starting with the stretch therapy, because you're in an environment where you just get to lay down and it's not about doing anything. You just get to receive, and your body gets to receive in a place where it is eliminating all this tension, all the stress is melting away. The movement starts to create this sense of safety for your body, and the ability to relax is what it really needs. It just needs to relax. And so that for that person, that would be the starting point.
Okay.
For another person who maybe isn't experiencing the symptoms so severely, but they're still dealing with the same sort of things, they're chronically stressed, or maybe, of course, we all deal with stress, but that's not overly a concern for them. They just work at a computer all day and their neck is tight and sore, or when they lift their arm overhead, there's like a catch in their shoulder, or their lower back hurts. These are generally a lot have to do with, again, the way that our body is processing and storing information. And then it creates dysfunctional movement patterns and dysfunction in the body in terms of how our muscles are working or not working. And in that situation, it would require more of a gentle movement type of flow that would teach the body in the same sort of philosophy to be safe through movement. So we're improving mobility, we're improving the structure of the muscles so that they're stable when holding the body in positions that we need to. But doing them all of these things in a way that they're completely intentional and we're present in our body so that we're listening to it. And so not only are we working from a neuromuscular and biomechanical perspective, and that we're getting the body to move the way it should, like if we were just a machine, we're getting the body to move the way it should. That's one aspect of things. But also, this is a very controlled way of, I talk about making sure that we have this intimate relationship with our body. So this cultivates that intimate relationship with the body in the same way that yoga does, in the same way that qigong and tai chi, but it's just a different perspective because my background is different.
Yeah.
So I implement things from the strength conditioning world. I implement things from corrective exercise from my
So
experience.
every single client truly has a tailored program,
100%.
like
Yeah.
the go-to or the
Mhm.
thing.
Anyone that would come in, we would have a little conversation. I would do a movement evaluation. And to be honest, usually I could just do a movement evaluation, and that's going to tell me a lot of what's going on, typically emotionally.
Isn't that crazy? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And so, or they can just tell me what's going on emotionally, and I can predict what I'm going to find in their body.
A lot of people have no idea what's going on emotionally.
And so it's this constant. I use both of those things for feedback, and then I can create a plan, and I do things different ways. I work with the client individually, but then I also provide them homework, so to speak. And that homework might be a particular breathing sequence to do daily, or it might be a mindfulness practice. And almost certainly there will be corrective exercise or stretching protocols involved.
Okay.
And all those things can and do blend together.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. So it all depends on exactly what the person needs. Of course, financial resources are always a big part of it. And that's why I want to make sure that, because it's no 1 hour training session or stretch session is going to fix someone, but it can show them what the body feels like when it's in a relaxed, safe
The possibility.
state. Yeah.
Again, we don't know, right?
Right. But
Yeah.
then it's all about taking that and applying it on your own. So I create programs with clients where they come, once or twice a week, and then they do things on their own, or maybe they just can only see me once a month, and then I would just give them a few exercises to kind of nibble on. And a big part of what I'm doing as well, long term with my business, is I'm creating, um, you know, movement videos,
Yeah.
so that I'll have a library that people can any of my clients can go to and have this personalized approach to somatic therapy.
I love
I
that.
giggled because I'm like, what if we don't like homework? I still do my homework anyway, but I don't know
That is so funny because I have the opposite.
You'll have
Like,
that one.
because I give homework to my clients too. So I love that.
Well, it's in my experience, is the only effective way to go about it, because and here's the thing that's different with the way that I approach working with a client, and the way that a typical model would be if I were a personal trainer at a box gym, just a typical gym. They want to sign you up to a big package for a lot of months, and then when those months are over, they want to do it again. And when those months are over, they want to do it again. And mine is structured a little different, that I want and hope for my client that they'll start to embody these things and implement them on their own, because that's the only way it's going to work, unless you have the resources to hire me for the rest of your life, and then you're just giving away your power to really change.
Right.
And so it's a process of, how I can help this person in the now and help them to develop these things so that they can start to see what their body needs on their own,
Absolutely.
and then have the tools to do that.
I love that. So, is there any final comments, questions, thoughts that maybe we didn't touch on that you do want to share before we wrap up?
Mm, The only thing that I would invite anyone listening to this, if this is something that is interesting to them, to attend one of my workshops.
Okay. We do have them on the schedule every quarter, and quarter one is already posted on the Facebook page. We are adding information in the next week or so. So you guys can start signing up for that as well. That's in February. Um, so I'm really excited about that because I will be here.
So
Yeah.
now, what if they don't want to wait? What if
Yeah.
they want to reach out to you before that? How do we find you?
So you can go to my website, which is lifeforcemc.com.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page as well, which is at lifeforcemc. And
We have some business cards.
there are business cards here. And so there's a lot of links.
The QR code. I will also add all of the links in the show notes for the podcast as well as the YouTube video. So everyone will have that all linked as well if they're watching and listening.
Yeah. In terms of gaining more insight into what I do, I would say that my Facebook page would be
Okay.
a really good resource for people because what I do is so much different than almost anything else that's out there in
Yeah.
terms of my approach. It requires the ability to educate people so that they understand what they're stepping into. So there's a lot of education in terms of nervous system health, tools that they can utilize, and exactly why I talk so much about perfectionism and the nervous system and how that relates to exercise.
I really do believe that if 2026 is going to be the year that people start showing up and investing in themselves, their mind, body, spirit, all of the things, definitely this is one of the things that I would say would be beneficial.
And
it's an investment. Yeah, any of this work is. It's an investment, but it's an investment in yourself for a better life lived,
Hmm.
for sure.
And I guess if I had one more parting message, it would be that this work is particularly helpful for someone who is dealing with a life change, whether their relationship status has changed, or they're changing careers, or some sort of trauma that they're processing. This is incredibly powerful and beneficial for people in that circumstance because it's just speeding up the process of moving energy and teaching the body how to feel safe.
I just made a list of people that I need to like.
Yeah. So, to tap into that, one last parting message for myself would be we did roll out with a new job form that is designed to let our clients fill it out as an intake form to not only choose what practitioners and service they want to stay connected to when these service days come available month to month, but also for us to gain a little knowledge on them and what they need help with and where they are seeking to be. So maybe if they are saying, hey, I want to stay connected with Reiki because that's all they know based on their intake stuff, we can have that conversation with them and be like, actually, this service with this practitioner would also be a lot more
It helps us
beneficial.
recommend
Yeah.
things. And we can share contact information as that comes along too.
Yeah. So I have started adding that link to our events as well as giving it to the practitioners to add to their events. And I'll add that in the show notes as well. So people have access to that if they don't know a time frame of when you're going to be here or don't know their schedule yet, they can still fill out that form and we can keep them updated. It kind of gives them a priority access to booking. Rather than just waiting around and wait for those events on Facebook to pop up and remind them, because sometimes those all get lost in the sauce. So, yeah, trying to be more ahead of the game to help people on that healing journey of more accessibility. So, I appreciate you being here talking with us and definitely educating for sure on all of this because we definitely needed that. So thank you for taking time today.
It's been great to be here. I'm so grateful that you all allowed me to come and visit and to share and talk
We're
about.
excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell or not. We're excited.
Yeah. So, sorry, I already said last party message. You do it. You all know. Joe's gonna be here every second, or is it third Wednesday? I think it's every third Wednesday. for a service day. And then, like I said, quarterly, you are here um, for your workshops, and they're on Sundays. But then you also have a home office as well for clients that can't meet with you here on those days. You can book your appointments at your home office, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
I'm in between Paris and Cynthiana on Rebels Mill Road. I have a studio there where I do most of my training. I also do virtual stuff for people who are distant or just don't want to travel and want to do things from their house. And so there's a lot of different options.
Perfect. I love that. Okay.
I also have studio space I can use in Lexington as well.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And we'll catch you next time, guys.
Right, guys. So that wraps up another episode of Without a Candle with Carly and Carla. We appreciate you, and
We'll see you next time.